Hello and welcome back to the course on Tableau. In the previous tutorial, we created this beautiful visualization in front of us, which allows us to compare the actual sales of the different departments of a store to their target sales. And today we will finish up with blending. And what we will do is we will talk about how to create a calculated field within a blend. And what that means is, how do we create a calculated field that requires data elements from both of the tables which are being blended? Now, I feel that this is an important topic that I should share with you because you will be creating a lot of calculated fields along the way when you work with Tableau. And when it comes to creating calculated fields within a blend, it's a bit different. There are certain specifics that you need to be aware of. So I just wanted to make sure we cover off this topic so that you're not in for any surprises along the way when you are working with Tableau in your role. So let's get let's go ahead and get straight to it. Here we've got our chart, and what we will be looking to do is for each one of the departments we will want to look at the difference between the actual sales and the target sales. So we want to create a chart which will be taking every single bar and subtracting the target and seeing whether basically the remainder of the bar is above 0 or below 0, and that will allow us to very quickly see how the departments are performing. Now, because adding another chart will increase the size of this worksheet, we might want to consider taking these departments and looking at them separately so that it's not too cluttered, because we already have basically right now we have 6 charts on this worksheet. We've got the targets, which are in gray in the background, and we have the actual sales, which are these bars in the front. So if we add another chart for every single one of the departments, that will take it to 9 charts. It might be a bit overwhelming for the user. So we want to take care of the user, and that's why we're going to kind of simplify this chart a little bit. And we can very easily do that by taking the category out of rows and putting it into a filter. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take category and drag it from rows to filter. And right away, we've got this filter settings that come up. We're going to click OK. And what that gives us is quite a crazy chart right away, because we are looking at everything at the same time. What we will do is we will take this and we'll click Show Quick Filter. Now I'm going to reduce the size of the chart a little bit so I can zoom in and so that you can see the filter at the same time. And we're going to reduce the size of the bars. So that's just for us. Okay, so that's what our chart looks like. Of course, we don't want to see everything at the same time. We're trying to get away from that. So first of all, we're going to customize or change this filter to a single value list, and then we'll take out the all value. So it'll go customize, show all value, take it off. And now we can simply click through our departments and we'll see the chart for each one of them, which is great. Now at this point, what you might be seeing is something different, and not a worry, I'll be able to help out right away. So perhaps what you're seeing looks something like this. After you've taken category out of the rows and you put it into a filter, what's happened is now when you click over from through the different departments, you see the total target for all of the departments instead of the individual target. And that can happen. That just means that what you did by taking category out of rows is it's just a filter now, so it's no longer a level of granularity of the view, and Tableau no longer aggregates the data at that level. It ignores that level of granularity when it's doing this blend. And why that happened is because perhaps in your sum of target in this control window, in the previous tutorial, when you removed category from color to make the target gray, you didn't put it into detail, but you rather just removed it completely. So right now what's happening is for this chart, this gray chart in the background here, if you look at the worksheet right now, you will see that category is nowhere to be seen as a level of granularity. Ignore it as a filter because a filter just filters data, but your category is not in columns, it's not in rows, it's nowhere to be seen in this control panel. And what that means is right away Tableau no longer knows or no longer regards category as a level of detail, and will not aggregate at that level. It will ignore it. You can fix that once again by taking category back into the rows. Right away, as you can see now, the category is correct. and you can click through, but we didn't want to do that. We wanted to keep category just as a level of granularity, but without actually being in our chart. So we'll take category out of here, and we'll just drag category into the detail. Just make sure it's there. It might be there if you put it there in the previous tutorial, it might be already there, and that way you're seeing everything correct. So just make sure that that's the case, because this kind of shows that when Tableau aggregates the two separate data sources, it only looks at what fields are in the view for that specific data source, and you can check that through this control panel over here. So for sales, or for target, and so on. So that's how we get our chart to be filterable by the different department, which is good. And once again, we have to make sure that the axis is synchronized, which is a great thing, so we can visually see right away what's happening. And now we're going to create our calculated field, which will be working across the two data sources in the blend. So we're going to go to the primary data source. We're going to find our field that we're going to use, which is sales. We'll right click that, and we will choose create calculated field. So here we want to take sales, and we want to subtract the actual target to see whether the sales are above or below the target. So we'll call this calculated field, what should we call it? Meets or excess of target. Let's try that. Excess of target. And now we will go to sales target. So the other data source, the second one, and we will take target here, and we will subtract. So we'll actually, first of all, we'll put a minus sign because we want to subtract. And now we'll take target and we'll drag it into our calculated field. And right away, you can see two things happen. First of all, the sales targets, or the target has this prefix before it, which indicates the data source. So it's telling us that this field is coming from there, and it's basically just a way for Tableau to know which secondary data source this field is coming from, and for you also to be able to tell that very quickly when you look at the calculation. Next, you can also see that there's a sum here. So why the sum up here? Well, that is quite... it should be intuitive by now, because you know that, or we know that this blend is happening by Tableau aggregating the data first. So as we discussed, Tableau sends separate queries to these data sources. It aggregates the data to the correct level of granularity. Then it brings it back and it joins or blends it here in Tableau. So that basically means that there will already be an aggregation when this calculated field is being performed or being derived. So that is why this sum is here. Here you can see the calculation contains errors, and that is because we're trying to subtract an aggregated field from a non-aggregated field. That can be easily resolved. We're just going to put a sum around sales here as well. Whoops, there we go. So sum sales minus the sum of the target. And now the field is valid, and we click OK, which is great. Now we can start using it. So let's go ahead and drag excess of target onto our rows. Right away, you can see a new field up here, excess of target. Now if we go to the control for excess of target, as you can see here in this whole view for this new field, there is no category whatsoever except for in the filter. And that means that category is not being considered as a level of granularity for this specific chart, the one at the bottom. So we need to fix that, and we're going to do that by taking category and just dragging it into detail. Right away, you can see that the chart has been corrected, and now if you click through, it is actually showing you the difference between the the bar chart and the area chart in the background, which is correct. It's exactly what we wanted to see. So now we'll just make it look pretty. All we have to do is color it properly, and we'll just take excess of target and drag it into color. So by holding down Control, and right away you can see Tableau is smart. It's selected the colors for us. So anything above is blue, anything below is orange. And now we can already start doing some analysis around this. Perhaps before you start doing analysis, you might want to format it a little bit. So you go into format, you change the worksheet to say a 10 or maybe a 12, depending on how much space you have. You make it bold. As you can see, everything has been adjusted. And Once again, this is a personal preference. You might want to color it a bit differently. So there we go. We've got the chart pretty much prepared. Now we can do a bit of analysis. So I'll just make this a bit bigger so we can see a bit more. The filter here, for instance, is being cut off a little bit. Perhaps maybe let's make it a 10. Yeah, that looks better. So what we want to do is we want to just see how the departments are performing. Right away, you can see that the furniture department had quite a lot of bad months. If we move to office supplies, you can see that they have much less bad months, only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 months below target in the 1, 2, 3, 4 years. And the technology department has quite a few bad months, but recently they've been doing a bit better. So based on that information, you can already start making some assumptions or preliminary conclusions. You might say that the furniture department, the way they set their targets might not be the best way because they're constantly underperforming and not meeting their targets. Perhaps the department manager should revisit the way they're setting the target. So far, it's been just constantly increasing month to month over the past 4 years. Perhaps it's time for a change. Technology department is setting their targets once per year, and that is perhaps they're not accounting for some seasonality effects. As you can see, there's some orange bars clustered together, so and here like some 0 bars as well. So that basically means maybe there's a seasonality effect that they're not taking into account, and maybe throughout the year their target should change based on how their customers are purchasing or how their stock is being adjusted and the behavioral patterns that they're observing. And looking at the office supplies department, you can see that they have the least months when they've not met their targets. And basically means that their way of setting the targets for the months, which are reviewed, so these targets are reviewed quarterly, seems to be the best approach currently. And yeah, perhaps that manager can explain to the other managers how he is doing it and what his secret sauce is. So that's awesome. One more thing that you might want to do is perhaps because these two axes are aligned, you might just want to right click here and just unshow header, so get rid of it, and that will save you some space because pretty much it's the same axis, and here you can just rename it, so edit axis and just call it sales/target, apply, okay, and that way you're saving space on the right, which was not really being used for anything important. So that's how we create calculated fields across blends. A very important topic because you will find yourself in situations when you will need it, and now you're totally prepared for it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, happy analyzing.